podcast that guides you toward becoming the best version of yourself professionally and personally. Each episode empowers you to release the limitations, fears, and old patterns that keep you stuck, while embracing the strategies and mindsets that lead to true success. Through powerful conversations and expert insights, you'll discover how to transform your career trajectory while maintaining inner balance, build unshakable confidence in your abilities, create meaningful relationships that support your growth, and master the art of letting go to make room for what serves you. Whether you're climbing the corporate ladder, building your dream business, or seeking deeper personal fulfillment, Let It Go and Flourish provides the guidance you need to thrive in all areas of life. Join our community of forward-thinking individuals who are ready to release what no longer serves them and step into their full potential. New episodes drop every Friday at 12 o'clock noon Eastern Standard Time. Visit merlinclark.com to listen to the podcast and take the first step toward your extraordinary future. Remember, your greatest self emerges when you let go of who you think you should be and embrace who you truly are. Let it go and flourish. Release, renew, and rise.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Let It Go and Flourish podcast, the place where you real life discussion, real growth, and actual results. This is episode 12 of season 2, and I am your host, Merlin Clark, and I thank you for tuning in today because you could be anywhere else, but you chose to be with me today. So thank you. Now, for those of you who are tuning in for the first time, the Let It Go and Flourish podcast is designed for transformation. And what's going on here? It's designed for transformation and for those people who are looking to flourish. And it was inspired from my book, Let It Go and Flourish, Live a Life of Peace, Passion, and Purpose. And that book is available on Amazon, or if you wish to purchase a signed copy, you can get that directly from me. Again, Let It Go and Flourish, Live a Life of Peace, Passion, and Purpose. Friends, family, you are in for a special treat, because I'm fortunate to have Michelle Harmon Malone as my expert guest, and she will be dropping major value. When I say major, major gems. First, let me share a little about Michelle. Michelle Malone is a parent empowerment coach, author, and educator with more than 30 years of experience helping teachers, staff, and students to discover their purpose. As the author of the Parenting Playbook, Beginning with the End in Mind, Michelle has spent many years working with parents, building their capacity to lead in their homes, and helping them to gain clarity about what matters most so that they can align their lives accordingly. She believes that one of the greatest gifts a mother can give her children is the example of a woman who continues to grow, serve, and pursue God's calling at every stage of life. Through her coaching and teaching, Michelle helps women move from feeling stuck and overwhelmed to living with clarity, confidence, and purpose. So, Michelle, welcome. Welcome to the Let It Go and Flourish podcast show. I've been trying to get you on the show for several months, but you're such a busy person. And now that school is out, here
Yes.
you are. Here
Oh
we
my gosh. It is my pleasure to be here, Merlin. And yes, we have been trying since you sat on my podcast months ago. We've been trying to connect, and so I'm just happy to be here.
And I'm happy to have you. Now, let me share with the audience, how did we meet? I met Michelle at a Maryland Christian Chamber of Commerce listening session. Yes, there are Christian chambers of commerce. And that was new to me because that's when I learned that they actually exist. And we have been here in Maryland. We will talk about this later in the show. Now, prior to the chamber launch in March of this year, we met virtually for 19 days of corporate prayer for the Maryland Christian Chamber of Commerce. And post launch, we meet every Friday at 6 a.m. So we meet quite frequently. In fact, we met this morning at 6 a.m. for corporate prayer. Additionally, we're both members of Bridgeway Community Church.
Yes.
Michelle attends the Columbia campus, the corporate campus, and I attend the Owings Mills campus. So we have so much in common.
We do. We really do.
We do.
We really do. Now I got to get you into my program at the main campus.
Okay.
We have a Women's Leadership Development Institute that starts in September, and
Okay.
it goes for 9 months. So when you see that email, if time permits, because I know you also are a very productive and busy woman, I think it will be a transformative experience for you.
And you know, Michelle, I remember when Dr. Anderson announced that you had your graduation event, and I think it was in June that you closed the session with a graduation, and he was there in attendance as well. So we'll think about that. That sounds exciting. And it's called Wild what?
It's Women's Leadership Development Institute, WLDI, and it's exclusively in Bridgeway. Yeah,
great.
You're confusing that with my podcast, Wildfire. I think
okay,
very
your
similar.
podcast is Wildfire. Okay, all right. So, now, Michelle, you mentioned that you are working on 2 companion pieces for parents. Discovering your next assignment, and the second one is Raising Kingdom Kids.
Yes.
Now, are these books that you're working on to be published?
Actually, they're 2 curriculum guides. And so I have just started inviting women, and I want to be clear, I'm inviting high achieving women to join this process. And the only reason I've changed it from specifically targeting parents is that there are women who showed up who weren't necessarily parents, and they wanted to know, what is this about? And so what I'm discovering is that many of us, even Christian women, even high achieving women, don't know who we are apart from the roles and the responsibilities that we have. And so the Lord was very clear on giving me a blueprint. Essentially, he gave me a framework that I'm calling the hats off experience. And it takes women through a process of removing each one of those hats, at least temporarily, so we could get down to the individual. And once you strip a person of all those responsibilities, those roles, those, I gotta do this, I gotta do that, or things are gonna fall through the crack, then we can work on identity. And once we start infusing the truth from scripture of who you are in Christ, and you get that identity clear, then we can move on to what you value. And when you know what you value, you won't be willy-nilly taking on projects that weren't intended for you. You'll be able to say no unequivocally, and you'll be able to say yes unequivocally.
I love that. I love that. Many women, high achieving women, really don't know who they are. And I have some women, because I work with women, women of any age, but I specifically love to work with women 50 and plus because they struggle with who they are. Some came to me saying, I'm a wife, I'm a mother, I'm a whatever title they are and position they hold on their jobs or church. And they were telling me all these different titles and roles that they play. But I said, like you said, when you strip those away, who are you really?
Yep.
And I realized that many women are stuck because they have an identity crisis.
Yes,
Because you
yes.
need clarity. If you don't know who you are, how are you going to know what path you need to take in order to grow?
Mm,
So I
that's some,
love what you're doing. I love it, love it, love it. Strip them of everything,
yep.
all those titles, those
Mm-hmm.
roles. Then
Mm-hmm.
the bare bone,
Yeah.
Merlin. Who are you
Yeah.
really?
And Merlin, what I'm also finding is that there's a grieving process associated with that. Women don't often want to part with those hats or those responsibilities. Like, we're not stealing it from you. We are putting them to the side so that we can focus on you, just you. Because you focus on everybody else. You focus on your kids because you're a mom. You focus on your spouse because you're a wife. You focus on dinner because that's one of your responsibilities. You focus on your job because that's how the Lord provides for you. So you're always focused on everybody else. And I'm just here to give women permission to spend some time looking out for you.
And you know what? That's what we do with women because I think about myself, how I'm a caregiver, I'm
Mhm.
serving in so many different roles. And there was a point in my life, Michelle, when I forgot about me. I was neglecting myself, not taking care of myself. And I said, this does not make any sense. You coach women, you lead women, and you're coaching them to be all that they can be, and
Mhm.
you're not taking care of you. Then how will you show up to take care of those who really need you?
Yeah.
And I made that pivot. I adjust. And I
Yes.
said, God created you for a purpose,
Mhm.
but
On
you need
purpose.
to take on
Mhm.
purpose, Michelle, but you
Mhm.
need to take care of you because you're also valuable. So I love
My,
what you're doing.
my
I
God.
love
And,
it, love it, love it. Absolutely love it.
oh my God.
Identity crisis. Yes.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes. Yes. And
Yes.
so just to even take it a little further, once you know who you are and whose you are, and then you know what you value. I know you say that, we've had this conversation before, right? You know what you value, then you tap into the most important thing after that is what's on the inside of me that the Lord placed me here for. So I have this other framework that's called the gift exchange, where we go through a whole process of unearthing what your gifts are, right? And then how the Lord may want you to steward them in the earth. Because I tell parents in my webinars and in my new training that number one, being a parent is probably the most important role that you will ever be given, right? The Lord chose you to steward that gift, right? The word says that children are an inheritance or a heritage, right? And so they're not yours. They don't belong to you. They belong to Him first. And so He has given you the gift of raising and the responsibility of raising these children to maturity. And at some point, they leave the house, y'all. They go to college, or before they even go to college, middle school, most parents will say, oh my God, middle school is the worst. And I used to tell them, because I was a middle school principal, I used to tell them all the time, it doesn't last forever. This little person that you don't like very much, you love them, but you don't like, they're not always going to be this way. And then they start to pull away. As babies, they think you hung the moon. And then middle school, they don't want to be around you. They want to be with their friends and, all those things. And as they start to grow, they want your advice. But if you don't know who you are, how are you going to help them get grounded in who they are? So that identity crisis is real. And I know you talk about it on your podcast all the time.
It's real, Michelle. And you know
Mhm.
what I find is so sad?
Mhm.
People place labels on us,
Mhm.
and we gladly wear those labels. And those labels, they don't really define who we are because
Mhm.
God already created us in His image, His likeness,
Mhm.
right? We don't
Mhm.
need the labels that people place on us.
Mhm.
And those labels limit us, they
Yeah.
keep us small. And because of those negative labels, we shrink. We shrink, become small to fit their expectations of us. So we need to really learn who we are. And as you said, on the inside, so that we can serve and fulfill that purpose for which He created us. Because if we
Amen.
don't do that first, we're never going to fulfill that purpose. And I want ladies to know, I want people to know, it's never too late. If this is your first time, you're hearing this message and it resonates with you, it is not too late for you. So I'm going to let you continue. I'm going to let you continue, sister. So, Michelle, you said many women confuse their assignment with their roles. What's the difference? And why do so many accomplished women struggle to answer the question, what's next for me?
Oh, my goodness. That's a loaded question, Merlin.
It is.
That's a loaded question. And I have an answer. First of all, high achieving women are wearing a hat that I call, for lack of a better word, pride. We love it. We love it. We love it when people tell us how amazing we are. We love it when someone gives us our evaluation for the year and we're highly effective. We love it when someone says, oh my gosh, no one has ever taught me this before. You're so brilliant. We love that. So the pride hat that we oftentimes wear, and we all wear it. If anybody thinks they don't, that's pride showing up in a different form. Yes. So it's not the kind of pride where you think you are better than anybody else. This kind of pride says, I'm self-sufficient. I can do it all on my own. My shoulders are broad enough. I will rest when I die. I still have breath in my lungs. I'm going to keep working until I can't work no more. That's pride. That's the hat that says, I can do it all on my own, giving no attribution to the giver of the gift at all.
Wow.
And so that is, as we know, scripture says pride comes before the fall. And so if you are wearing that hat consistently because people are feeding you all these compliments, or your evaluation is always, well, maybe your evaluation is effective, but you fight and you argue with sophisticated arguments to say, oh no, I'm not effective. I'm highly effective. There's pride.
There's pride.
There's pride. And so even, I'm using those examples because I want women to hear their own script and what I'm sharing. Like, I need them to pay me what I'm worth. You're worth the price of Jesus's blood. Nobody has that amount of money.
Wow.
And when you know who you are, you don't know that you're that valuable, that you're that priceless, that Jesus went to the cross knowing full well he was without sin, and he bore the cross of our past sins, present sins, future sins willingly, so that we would have that blood, right?
Wow.
And so when you say things like, I need them to pay me what I'm worth, or that's not enough money for me, enter pride.
Wow. Wow. That's
so part
powerful.
2 to that.
Huh?
Part 2 to that. You had a loaded question, so there's a part 2 to that.
Okay.
You said, why is it that high achieving women don't realize, whatever the rest of your question was? Well, high achieving women are rarely in a room by themselves without the hats.
Yeah, they struggle with the question, what's next for me? Yeah. What's next for me? Yes.
There you go.
That's
And so that's a question that only comes through intimacy with our Maker. And if you're not a believer, and I'm not trying to convert anybody, I'm just letting you know, I'm trying to give you the cheat code here. Merlin, I can speak for Merlin, I can speak for myself. We didn't come up with this on our own. We didn't wake up one day as little kids and say, hey, I'm going to be an entrepreneur and I'm going to have a podcast, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that. Those gifts that we have been knitted into us by the master knitter, by our master, our creator. And so we come here with gifts, talents, and abilities. You're not a self-made woman. You're not. And if you believe that, again, enter pride. And pride comes before a fall.
And you're correct. We came with all of those. When we were created, we came fully loaded. However, it is our responsibility to discover those great gifts, to discover our purpose. We have them. What are we going to do with them? So it's our responsibility to discover our purpose here on earth, because we were not placed on earth for us. We were placed to serve others. So we need to use those gifts and to determine, who will I serve?
Yes.
Who will I serve? These gifts that you gave me, Lord, who will benefit from them? How may I serve with these gifts that you gave me?
So
understanding that, yes, they're gifts. You didn't create them. He gave them. Yes, we went to school. We got our initials behind our names and all of that. God allowed us to go through all of that. But understanding that everything comes from him, and he has allowed us to do all those things. Now, who will we serve?
Who will we serve?
And so vocation is not our purpose, and people confuse that.
Yes. And so thank you for saying that, because there's a lot of confusion. And oftentimes, if you don't have someone like you or me or another coach who is helping to guide people through that understanding, they stay stuck. And I know personally, if I see a friend of mine who's stuck, I'm going over there to help them out.
Absolutely.
And as a coach, that's what we do. We ask questions, and we stretch you, and we get you to think. You have the answers already. You have the answers, but sometimes you need a little help unearthing some of those answers. And the more you come back to the questions, and the more you spend time with this facilitator or this guide or whomever, and in my case, it's the Lord. I sit silently with the Lord every single day, and I don't open my mouth, and I like to talk. And so if I'm sitting there in silence, I'll ask one question: Lord, who am I serving today? How am I serving today? And I know that I'm going to serve in excellence, no matter what the case is. Even if it's a role or a vocation I don't particularly love, I'm still going to show up in excellence, and I'm going to use these gifts, because the more I use those gifts, they sharpen. They become even sharper and keener, and the Lord wants that. So I'm continuing to sharpen whatever skills and gifts and talents I have. I know teaching is one that's very pronounced. And so is leadership, women's leadership in particular. And I know those came from him.
Absolutely.
And and so I want other women to have the freedom to know that, number one, you're gifted. And that's not from a haughty position of, oh, I'm so smart, I'm a genius, I'm part of Mensa. No. I'm talking about what the master knitted together in you. It's in your DNA. It's in your family line. So, and he's no respecter of person. You're not a favorite, but he wants to make sure that his work gets done in the earth, because he put you here with those gifts, those talents, and those abilities.
He sure did. And here you said something, that people have that knowledge inside. They have all of that, but they need people like you and I to bring that to the surface. There's a difference between being a coach and a mentor, because a coach does not give answers. We just help you gain more clarity, make you heighten your awareness. We heighten your awareness. And so, because you already have all of that inside you.
Absolutely.
When God created you. And that's the difference. You just heighten their awareness. And as you mentioned, so that they can gain clarity. Clarity on their next step. Absolutely. What is my next step? because they have all of that inside them. But how do I take my next step?
So
Wonderful. Wonderful.
so good. That is so good.
Yeah.
'Cause remember, being a parent, and I know most folks when they introduce themselves, first thing they say is, I'm a mom, I'm a wife, I'm a whatever, a litany of things that they do before they even mention their name sometimes. So just always remember that being a parent or a wife is part of your story, but it was never intended to be the whole story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I love the analogy that you use, the hat.
Yeah.
I love that. I love
Yeah.
that.
I had to trademark it, Merlin. I had to trademark it
You need
because
to.
I
You
did.
need to write it
did.
down, and
I
you need
did.
to do
Yeah.
that, because
Mhm.
oftentimes we say we're going to do something, and then and next thing you know, someone is running with it.
Yep.
So you
Yep.
need to.
And it's okay. People can steal what they want to steal, but the anointing is on me. And so when the Lord gave it to me, and I call it the hats off experience, that's the first, or that's the way in, right? So I'll do a quick little webinar and, see who's interested in going into the next level, and investing in themselves for the hats off experience, which I trademarked. And it's 3 sessions. Essentially, it's a master class broken up into 3 sessions. In fact, my first webinar, or my next webinar, is Wednesday coming. And then after those 3 sessions, like you, I start seeding the next container, because I know they could leave after those 3 sessions and have enough ammunition to, enough fuel to keep going and start thinking about what their next step is, and have enough material, right? But if you really, really want to go deeper and get a deeper understanding of who you are and how the Lord wants to use you in the earth, I have another container for that too. And that's the becoming experience. And that's where the transformation really happens.
The becoming experience. Yes.
Yeah.
We are becoming.
We are.
We are becoming.
We are.
Michelle, many parents want spiritually strong children, but they don't know where to begin. Where do you suggest that they should start?
Well, I'm so glad you asked. When I wrote the Parenting Playbook, beginning with the end in mind, a few years ago, and I think it's probably been like 4 years now, it's 2026. So I think that was 2022. It was a summer. I was on summer break, a little bit of a vacation, and the Lord gave me the words, and I just started typing every day. I had a routine. I'd get up at 3 every morning. I'd get a little exercise in, I'd get some breakfast in, and I'd just pull out my laptop, and from 4 until about 7 every day, I would just get to writing. And he gave me all the material. I can't even take credit for it. And I got a lot of my scenarios from working as an assistant principal in a middle school. And mainly your job as a middle school assistant principal is discipline. You get to do a lot of other things as well, but discipline is the job. So kids at that age, they're always doing stuff. They think it's going to be funny, and the end result is when you get caught, it really ain't that funny. And so I have a million stories. I might have to do a book about just the stories. But I remember one day, this boy, I called them shady boys because they were always doing something shady. He comes in with a pink scooter, and it was a pink scooter, like red flag, Michelle, red flag. And so I see him before he sees me, and his buddies see him coming in with the scooter. So the big crowd of boys come toward the door as a unit. And what they're doing is they're trying to hide him from me, but I had already seen him, right? I saw something hot pink, and it was with him, and he doesn't normally have hot pink. And so I went toward them, and they're really trying to hide him, like this huge crowd trying to hide him so he could get away with the pink scooter. What they don't do is they always think about what's going to be funny. They want to be seen. They want to be noticed. Yes. They're the 2 biggest things in a middle schooler's life in terms of what they value is friends and fairness. That's what they care about. And if you come in and you're funny, you're going to have friends. When you get in trouble, they want to know, well, is this fair? Did somebody else do this before and they didn't get in trouble? Friends and fairness. And so, long story short, I ended up getting the the scooter, and it stayed in my office most of the year. And kids would get in trouble on purpose so they could come and see the scooter.
What?
Oh, it's a different world in middle school. Like,
Oh my
we
goodness.
heard you stole the scooter. I'm like, I didn't steal the scooter. I was gifted the scooter. Like, there were all these stories going on about them. But my point is, they're very impressionable in middle school.
Yes.
Very impressionable. They want to be loved. They want to be seen. And, as I said, they care about friends and fairness. And so I would have these conversations with these boys, and it was mainly boys getting into trouble. They were my group. If I had a target audience, it would be middle school boys. And so as a result of the things that they did that were not simple and silly, like bringing a scooter that you found on the street into school, that scooter was literally, it said free to a good home. It was trash day. And this boy took the thing on the bus and brought it to school. So that's
Wow.
that's the context there.
Wow.
But there were some who did other things that were very nefarious and very mean spirited and evil. And what I shared with parents as they would come in to get their kids, because there are consequences for setting something on fire. There are consequences for racial slurs. There are consequences for fighting, right? And the parents would come in, and especially moms, they always looked so exasperated, like, what am I going to do with him? And what the Lord showed me is, Michelle, you're a bridge. Number one, you stand your ground and let them know you're not talking me out of this. Let me show you the code of conduct. This is how we operate. But number two, when he comes back, we're starting from scratch. We're starting from scratch. We're going to focus on school. We're going to focus on getting the right friends for you. And we're going to have a good rest of the year. Absolutely. And so the more I did that, I felt like I was counseling the parents. I'm not a counselor, but the Lord allowed me to sow into them with words of encouragement, with hugs, with just expressions of love. And they returned the favor, because they're like, I don't know anybody in their right mind who would want to be a middle school leader. Me.
Purpose.
Me.
Purpose.
So it was definitely purpose. I wouldn't have chosen it myself, but what I learned is that with them being so impressionable right there, that's the sweet spot to start taking them with you to church. Not just to church, be even smarter than that. Make sure you get them involved in youth groups so that they can be among other teens their age who are going for the same purpose. And those youth group leaders, they are the truth. That's a purpose. Yeah. And before you know it, you have your kids asking you, hey, can we go to this conference? Can we go to this thing? Can we go to see Noah's Ark in Kentucky? Like, they're going to be asking for those things. And all you have to do is say, yeah, we're going to make that happen. We're going to make it happen.
Wow. Where do they start? That's a big, I hope they're listening. I hope the parents are listening. Yeah. Because this, I said at the beginning, you're going to be dropping major value. But you know what I think would be interesting? If you wrote that book on all the stories, and then some of your middle school boys later purchased that book and they identified their story.
Know what? Look, I might have to bring them on the podcast for that, because there are a few of them. The families and I became so close as a result of all their shenanigans that I go to lunch quarterly with a group of them today. And many of them are graduated from high school and whatnot and living their lives, gone to college. A couple of them are in the Naval Academy. Like, they have gone on to do things. But in middle school, in that messy middle, baby, they needed interventions. And I was there for it.
And you were there for it. I mean, I would just love it. Love it, love it, love it. And that podcast, bringing them on your podcast show, that sounds like a very good idea as well. So let me ask you this. What's one mistake well-intentioned Christian parents often make?
All right, folks are going to throw shades at me.
They're raising their kids, and
Mhm.
they have good intentions, but where do they mess up?
I'll tell you. And this is my script because I've seen it again and again and again. Number one, and it's actually twofold. Number one, we're watching the wrong model of excellence. We're watching other families. We're watching other parents and how they do certain things. We're watching coaches. We're entrusting our kids to coaches, and we don't know what they value in that person's home. And so we're entrusting the village, so to speak, to help us train up our kids. But your kids are taking on the values of the football coach, the basketball coach, the track coach, the choir coach, the whomever. And do they know what you value in your house? So once you know who you are, then you know what you value. You can focus on what you value. And I even have a little assessment. It's like a 10 question assessment. Once you tell me what you say you value, well, I need you to go and do an assessment of yourself in your house. Ask your kids, do we value integrity in this house? How do you know? Do we value loving the Lord in this house? How do you know? Oh, we go to church. Okay, what else do we do? Do we read the Bible as a family? You know, do we go to events that are not secular together? Do we go to Christian concerts? Do we listen to Christian music? Or are we listening to Lil Boosie on the way to school and on the way home? You know, I'm not dissing Lil Boosie. That's my homeboy. He's from Louisiana. But there is nothing uplifting. There is nothing that edifies you with some of the stuff that is going through the airways. Yeah, the beat is good, but guess what? The enemy uses the beat to get our attention.
Yeah.
And once you're dancing to it and once you're repeating it, the enemy is happy with you, and they're not, you ain't got to worry. He ain't got to worry about a thing because you're doing the work for him. You know, the enemy is probably thinking, why is this so easy? Well, remember what the enemy's job was before he was kicked out of heaven. The minister of music. Let's just call him that.
Yes.
Let's just call him that. Why wouldn't he use those tools that he got from heaven? Because I don't believe that the Lord took away all of his tools, right? Which is why he can mimic things in the earth. He can mimic the Lord's voice. He can mimic light. You know, he can mimic things. He can't be, you know, but he can mimic things, and we hear it in the music.
The master of counterfeit.
Yes.
The master of counterfeit. You know, if you were to have a conversation with my daughter today, well, not today, like maybe 2 years ago, she'll complain, my mother didn't let me do anything. She wouldn't even let me do a sleepover. She wouldn't let me go to other people's house. Now, you know what she's saying now? My kids are never doing any sleepover at other people's house. I said, why? You don't know, mommy, you don't know what they're doing in their house, what kind of rituals or whatever they're doing in their homes. What if it's satanic? What if she will come out and she'll say that? I said, but you used to get mad that I didn't let you go to sleepover. She said, well, that was a long time ago, but she knows the difference now. She knows the difference, that I was protecting her. And, you know, my little grandson is 6.5 years old, and he takes karate classes, and his sensei is a Christian, and they learn a Bible verse every week. He teaches them a Bible verse. So we also have to be intentional about the activities that we enroll our children in. Where is it the best? It's famous, and so is the leader, but is it the best place for your children to participate?
There you go. Does it align with your values? You know, if it doesn't align with your values, guess what? Your kids will understand when you say, no, we're not going to do that, but I'm going to give you your choice of this and this. We can't do what every other family does. Just because this family is allowing their kids to play all the different sports and engage with all the different kids and whatnot, you are responsible for the ones in your house.
Yes.
That's your responsibility. God gave them to you to steward.
They are your gift. They're your gifts.
They are your heritage. Exactly.
And parents have to be intentional And not because your friends or your neighbors' kids are participating in one thing, your children should as well. What are your values? And you're correct.
Mm,
You are so correct. I'm just
yeah,
loving this
yeah.
conversation. So, as we wrap up, was there a moment, Michelle, when you realized God was calling you into a new assignment? Break that down for me, if so.
Yes, yes. Oh my gosh, Merlin. I left the school system after, let's see, I had been in Maryland for 15 years. And I left the school system. I was starting to feel, I don't want to say tired, because that's not really the word for it. I still had the energy to do the work. But in hindsight, I realize now that the grace had lifted. The work that I had been doing in excellence as unto the Lord, the grace had lifted. And it had become more difficult for me to get up in the morning and go in there with a happy face. You
Mhm.
know, it became difficult. Whereas before I would jump out of bed, I'd do my little morning machinations, right? And I'm on the road, I'm heading to school. So I could walk the campus, pray my circles around the campus. The early birds get to say hello to the early birds who were in the building, go and hang out with the custodial staff and giggle with them for a little bit before the day got wild. But I remember waking up one morning and I just didn't want to go. And that pride hat, I must have woke up with the pride hat on. I said, do I really need this job? Those were the words that came out of my mouth. So I knew something was up.
Mhm. Mhm.
And so
Yeah.
the Lord gave me such grace in making the decision to leave. And I was studying in the book of Isaiah one morning. And I was really like, Lord, I really don't want to do this anymore. I don't feel called to do it anymore. I'm going to miss the kids. I'm going to miss some of the teachers, but I don't feel called. And I opened my book, and it was in the Passion Translation. It says, just leave, but leave clean.
Yes. Leave clean.
Just leave, but leave clean.
Yes. And that's something we need to remember. We have to remind ourselves of who we are. No matter what they did, if somebody did something or how unhappy we are, leave clean.
Yeah.
Leave clean.
Yeah.
You know?
Yes, indeed. And that's
Leave.
what I did. I put
Mhm.
in my notice. I didn't retire. I said, I'm resigning from this system. I took off 10 months.
Mhm.
And then after 10 months, I'm sitting on my couch. I'm probably eating some popcorners and watching Netflix in the middle of the day. And I get a text message asking me if I'm ready to go back to work. And I'm like, who is this texting me? And, and it's a gentleman that I love and respect. He's my supervisor now. And he was offering me a position that I could have done in my sleep had that been the position, right?
Mhm.
But I decided to take that role, went through the whole interview process, the performance tasks and all that stuff. And the Lord sent me to Baltimore City Public
Mhm.
Schools. And not in a building, not in a physical building. I go to various buildings throughout the day and the week. But the Lord made it very clear to me, Michelle, this is not a place for you to go and get comfortable and, start doing all the things. This is an assignment. And I'm sending you early so that you can get the lay of the land. And I'm giving you a specific assignment. And just like I did in this previous system, you will know when the grace has lifted. And so until he lifts the grace, that is where I will be. And I'm grateful because I've learned a lot. Baltimore City has gotten a bad rep from people. And it's a hard place to live, I'm sure. But there are a lot of beautiful pockets among the people, among the places in that city. And so the Lord is showing me that so that I can speak to anybody, any objectors who say, well, man, why would you want to work in Baltimore City? There's so much beauty there. Among the ashes, there's still so much beauty there.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Mhm.
Wow. Thank you so much. Michelle, as we wrap this up, and I'm going to give you 2 minutes, what inspired you to create these companion resources that we mentioned earlier?
Well, we're about to go back to school soon. We're about to go back to school. So you got to have a vision before you send your kids to school.
Mhm.
And so I'm going to give people an opportunity to get some of these materials to start off with a vision for the school year and going through that process, almost like a little protocol with your kids. No matter how many kids you have, what grade they're in, it could be preschool to pre-college. It's important to know that we are on the same page, and I'm going to support you as a parent, as a stepmom or whatever, to achieve these goals. But we're starting with a vision because we want you to be successful, and we're going to operate as unto the Lord. So there you go.
And what I just did, Michelle, I posted your handles in the chat so that if people would like to find you, I have your LinkedIn, your Facebook, and your Instagram handles here, and I'm posting them in the chat so that if people would like to connect with Michelle, they know where to find her. She is on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram, and they're all in the chat. So I just want people to just reach out to Michelle. She also hosts a podcast show. Tell them about the name of your podcast show. Please share your name of your podcast show.
Oh my goodness, Wildfire. And Wildfire it's WLDD, and that stands for Women's Leadership Development and Deployment. So we're not just going to develop you on these weekly podcast shows, but we're also going to deploy you because you'll be equipped to go into the earth and do what God has called you to do. So I love it. I love the work. I love what God has given me, the territory he's given me, and he's expanding it every day. And so I thank you so much, Merlin, for shining a light on your girl today. And I love the work that you're doing. I'm proud of you. I pray for you, and I pray that the Lord remembers you with favor for all that you've done for his people.
I thank you so much for accepting my invitation to be on this show, because as I mentioned, I want to add value to our audience, but I also want the audience to know about you and what you do and how you can help them. Because like you said, we're getting ready to go back to school in a few weeks. It's a little over a month for some people, maybe less for others. And these resources that you mentioned will definitely help some parents. And what you have shared about raising kingdom kids, there are parents out there who need this information. So I'm so happy you agreed to be here with me today. And I love my audience. And that, I looked at the comment and I see where Coach Carrie she always shows up, and she also has a wonderful podcast show as well. Coach Carrie, thank you so much for showing up. And I'm going to also put my handles out there if you need to connect with me. I'm here on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and my YouTube channel. And we're going to close out with a word from our sponsor. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Merlin Clark, and I'm here to help you and your team succeed. I'm a certified behavioral analyst, speaker, trainer, teacher, and coach. I'm also the founder and CEO of Mac Leadership Solutions, LLC, and founder of Mac Success Academy. I have over 30 years of business experience, including 15 years as a corporate training professional. My mission is to help you grow your business by developing you and your team members, your most essential resources. I believe in creating a fun and engaging learning environment where your team members can build awareness, grow their skills, and achieve their goals. I offer a variety of services, including assessments, speaking, training, and coaching. I can also customize workshops, behavioral assessments, coaching, and seminars to fit your organization's specific needs. My mantra is creating impact through leadership development and personal growth. I'm passionate about helping businesses of all sizes in the financial services, real estate, insurance, and business industries succeed. So, what are you waiting for? Contact me today to learn more about how I can help you and your team succeed. Let's make it happen.
Thank you.